The American Old West is often remembered for its lawmen, outlaws, and rugged frontiersmen, but one group of trailblazers is frequently overlooked: African American cowboys. Despite Hollywood's whitewash portrayal, black cowboys played a vital role in shaping the West, driving cattle, taming wild horses, and even enforcing the law. In fact, historians estimate that 1 in 4 cowboys was African American, yet their contributions remain largely untold. In this video, we'll shine a spotlight on 10 African American cowboys who left a lasting mark on the frontier. From fearless lawmen to legendary rodeo stars, their stories prove that the West was more diverse than many realize. If you're passionate about uncovering the real history of the Old West, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because there's always more to discover about the legends who helped shape America. Cherokee Bill. Crawford, Cherokee Bill. Goldsby was one of the most notorious outlaws of the Old West, often compared to infamous figures like Jesse James and Billy the Kid. Born to a Cherokee mother and an African-American father who served as a Buffalo soldier in the 10th Cavalry, Goldsby's life was shaped by the rugged frontier and the challenges that came with it. His early years hinted at the turbulent path he would take, as he reportedly became involved in a fatal altercation at just 12 years old. During a heated argument over household chores, he allegedly shot his brother-in-law. Given his young age, authorities did not impose severe consequences, but this event marked the beginning of his troubles with the law. By the time he reached 18, Goldsby found himself in another violent dispute, this time forcing him to leave his hometown and seek refuge in Oklahoma's Indian Territory. There, he aligned himself with the Cook brothers, a group known for their run-ins with the law. His presence with them soon escalated into a deadly confrontation when law officers attempted to apprehend him. In the chaos, Sequoia Houston, a lawman, lost his life. Goldsby managed to evade capture, disappearing into the wilderness. Seeking safety, he turned to his sister Maud, who agreed to hide him. However, their reunion was far from peaceful. Goldsby became enraged upon witnessing Maud's husband mistreating her. In an act of defiance, he intervened, and soon after, his brother-in-law was no longer in the picture. His personal code of justice demonstrated his complex nature. He was feared as an outlaw, but also acted in defense of those he cared about. Despite brief respites, Goldsby could not escape his outlaw lifestyle. He rejoined the Cook gang and embarked on a spree of robberies across Oklahoma, targeting banks and trains with remarkable audacity. One of their most daring heists involved looting a Missouri Pacific Railroad depot, only to ride tirelessly to another town and rob the railway agent there as well. Their crimes were driven by personal gain rather than any noble cause, and their actions had lasting consequences for those caught in their path. A particularly ruthless moment came when they derailed a Kansas City and Pacific Express train before looting its cargo, leaving railway workers and passengers in turmoil. In Nowata, their actions turned fatal when a railway agent attempting to resist them lost his life. Goldsby's days as a fugitive were numbered. Authorities eventually captured him and brought him before the infamous Judge Isaac Parker, known for his strict rulings in the Indian Territory. Goldsby's conviction came after he was found guilty of killing a bystander during a general store robbery. Though his fate seemed sealed, he made a desperate attempt to escape by acquiring a hidden pistol from an associate. A dramatic standoff followed, with prison guards surrounding him. The situation grew tense until another inmate, Henry Starr, was enlisted to negotiate Goldsby's surrender. In exchange for his cooperation, Starr secured his freedom, while Goldsby faced the consequences of his past. In the end, Goldsby met his fate with an air of acceptance. Before his execution, he reportedly uttered the words, "This is about as good a day to die as any." His story, though marked by crime, remains a significant chapter in the history of the American frontier, illustrating the lawless nature of the time and the complex lives of those who lived it. Mary Fields. Mary Fields, better known as Stagecoach Mary, was a woman of remarkable strength and determination in the Old West. She carved out a reputation as one of the toughest individuals in Montana, often claiming she could take on any challenger. Her confidence was well-founded, as local newspapers reported that she had bested more than a few in contests of physical strength. Though she had a no-nonsense demeanor, she was also fiercely independent and well-armed, often keeping a six-shooter beneath her apron for protection. Her bold personality and fearless nature earned her deep respect in Cascade, Montana, where the town even declared her birthday a school holiday, an honor rarely bestowed on anyone, let alone a formerly enslaved woman navigating a predominantly male frontier society. Born into slavery in Tennessee, Mary experienced the harsh realities of life from an early age. The Civil War brought her freedom, but like many African Americans during Reconstruction, she had to forge her own path in an uncertain world. She eventually found work on the famed steamboat Robert E. Lee during its historic race against the Natchez, a moment that symbolized the era's intense competition in river commerce. In a bid to push the vessel to its limits, the crew even resorted to burning hams and bacon in the boilers to generate extra power. Whether Mary directly participated in these daring efforts is uncertain, but her experience working on the riverboats gave her valuable skills in endurance, adaptability, and resilience, traits that would serve her well in the years to come. In 1885, Mary relocated to Cascade, Montana, where she took on a role at St. Peter's Convent. Unlike most women of the time, she was not confined to domestic duties. Instead, she embraced physically demanding labor, hauling supplies, constructing buildings, and completing stone masonry work. Her willingness to take on such tasks, typically assigned to men, set her apart. One of her most legendary moments came during a supply run when she found herself stranded at night after her wagon overturned. A pack of wolves lurked nearby, drawn by the scent of the cargo. Undeterred, Mary stood her ground, remaining vigilant until daylight to protect the supplies. This act of courage only added to her growing reputation as someone who could handle any challenge the frontier threw her way. Despite her contributions, not everyone in the church hierarchy approved of her bold ways. Montana's first Catholic bishop took issue with reports of her involvement in heated disputes and even a rumored gun incident. As a result, she was forced to leave the convent. Yet, rather than being discouraged, she saw this as an opportunity for reinvention. At the age of 60, a time when many would have considered retiring, Mary embarked on a new career as a mail carrier. Demonstrating her exceptional skills, she outperformed all other applicants in a test to hitch a team of horses and was soon delivering mail across the rugged landscapes of Montana. As only the second woman hired by the U.S. Postal Service and the first African-American woman to take on such a role, she defied societal norms and braved severe weather conditions, treacherous trails, and long, lonely stretches of land to ensure that letters and parcels reached their destinations. While Mary was celebrated for her strength, she also had a compassionate side. She adored baseball and regularly brought bouquets from her garden to Cascade's local team. Children in town found a friend in her, and she often took on babysitting duties, including for a young Gary Cooper, who would later become a famous Hollywood actor. Her generosity extended to those in need. When she opened a restaurant in her later years, she refused to turn away anyone who couldn't afford a meal. Unfortunately, this kindness led to financial difficulties and the business eventually failed. However, the community never forgot her selflessness. When her home was destroyed by fire in 1912, the people of Cascade rallied together to build her a new one, a testament to the respect she commanded. A lease contract for a local hotel even included a clause ensuring that Mary could always eat there for free. Mary's influence on the town was undeniable. She was the only woman permitted to drink in the local saloon, an exceptional privilege in a time when such spaces were dominated by men. Her legacy endured beyond her passing in 1914, as those who knew her continued to share stories of her remarkable life. From her days as a steamboat worker to her time as a fearless mail carrier, Mary Fields embodied the spirit of the Wild West, proving that resilience, kindness, and determination could leave an indelible mark on history. Bass Reeves. In the years following the Civil War, the region known today as Oklahoma, then called Indian Territory, became a refuge for those seeking to evade the law. The land, under Native American governance, had limited federal oversight, making it an appealing hideout for fugitives, bandits, and outlaws of every kind. Crime became so rampant that even Native American children had a haunting rhyme about the strangers who arrived under mysterious circumstances. "Oh, what was your name in the States? Was it Johnson or Thompson or Bates? Did you kill your wife and fly for your life? Say, what was your name in the States?" This lawlessness came at a heavy cost. Of the approximately 200 U.S. Marshals who lost their lives in the line of duty, nearly 130 met their fate in Indian Territory. The dangers of enforcing justice in the region were unparalleled, requiring a new breed of law enforcement, one capable of tracking criminals through rugged landscapes, standing firm against threats, and earning the trust of the local communities. It was against this backdrop that Judge Isaac C. Parker arrived in 1875, determined to restore order. Known as the hanging judge, Parker presided over the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Arkansas, which had jurisdiction over Indian Territory. Realizing the enormity of the task before him, he sought out the most capable and fearless individuals to serve as deputy U.S. Marshals. One of his greatest recruits was Bass Reeves, a man whose skill, integrity, and determination would make him one of the most legendary lawmen in the history of the American West. Born into slavery in Arkansas, Reeves gained his freedom under dramatic circumstances. While still enslaved, he was forced to serve his owner during the Civil War, but an altercation, reportedly over a card game, led him to strike his enslaver. Understanding that remaining in bondage would no longer be an option, he escaped into Indian Territory, where he found refuge among the Creek and Seminole nations. During this time, he not only survived, but thrived, learning multiple Native American languages, understanding their customs, and building relationships that would later prove invaluable in his law enforcement career. When Reeves became a deputy U.S. Marshal, his knowledge of Indian Territory gave him a distinct advantage. The fugitives he pursued often assumed they could disappear into the vast, unregulated land. But Reeves, familiar with its hidden trails and communities, had an uncanny ability to track them down. His reputation grew quickly, and even hardened criminals feared crossing his path. Some outlaws went so far as to leave behind cards, warning that any lawman who dared to follow them into Indian Territory would not return. However, Reeves was undeterred. During his 27 years as a U.S. Marshal, he apprehended over 3,000 fugitives, an astonishing number that reflected both his persistence and skill. He often set out on long journeys with just a wagon, a cook, and one other officer, covering vast stretches of Oklahoma, before returning with a dozen or more criminals in tow. His work required patience, strategic thinking, and remarkable courage. One of his most famous encounters occurred when he unexpectedly crossed paths with three men known for terrorizing the region. Alone and outnumbered, Reeves still managed to take control of the situation. In another instance, he intervened in a volatile situation where a mob was preparing to take justice into its own hands. Without drawing his weapon, he rode directly into the crowd, took custody of the individual they sought, and calmly led him away. His mere presence commanded such respect that no one dared to challenge him. Beyond capturing fugitives, Reeves also played a crucial role in maintaining peace in towns on the brink of racial violence. At a time when racial tensions ran high, his authority and fair-handed approach allowed him to de-escalate conflicts that might have otherwise turned deadly. His dedication to justice was unwavering, regardless of who was involved. However, his career was not without hardship. Perhaps his most difficult case was deeply personal, arresting his own son. When Reeves learned that his son had been accused of a grave crime, he did not hesitate to pursue justice, as he would in any other case. The young man was ultimately convicted and sentenced to life in prison, a heart-wrenching moment for a father who had spent his life upholding the law. Bass Reeves's legacy remains one of resilience, honor, and an unyielding commitment to justice. In a time and place where law enforcement was often outgunned and outnumbered, he proved that determination, intelligence, and moral integrity could bring order to even the most lawless lands. Addison Jones. Addison Jones earned a reputation as one of the most skilled African-American cowboys of his time, particularly for his ability to tame and train wild broncos. His talent in topping off unbroken horses, staying on their backs while they bucked and resisted, set him apart from many others in his field. The work was so demanding that most cowboys gave it up by their 30s. However, Addison defied the odds and continued well into his 70s. Many who knew him believed he had an almost instinctive ability to understand horses. Some even claimed he could predict a horse's behavior just by looking it in the eye. In addition to bronco busting, he was widely respected for his roping skills, his ability to handle cattle, and his talent in the saddle. Historian J. Evetts Haley recorded one of Addison's remarkable feats with a lasso. Instead of relying on his horse for leverage, he would secure the rope around his waist, maneuver a horse into position, and then, at full gallop, lasso the animal's neck. Where others might have lost control, Addison had the strength and technique to bring the horse down safely through sheer skill. A well-known story from Roswell, New Mexico, tells of the time Addison got married. Local cattle ranchers, eager to celebrate the occasion, each decided to gift the couple a practical household item. Unfortunately, their generosity resulted in the newlyweds receiving 19 identical cooking stoves. While details about Addison's personal life remain scarce, his influence as a cowboy was significant enough to be remembered in folklore. His name appeared in the lyrics of a popular song of the era, "Who's Old Cow?" However, the song's original version contained offensive language and outdated stereotypes, which have made modern performances rare. Despite this, Addison Jones' legacy lives on as one of the great horsemen and cattlemen of the Old West, Isam Dart. The details of Isam Dart's life remain a subject of debate. Some accounts suggest he was a well-known cattle rustler, while others portray him as a hard-working rancher who found himself in the crosshairs of one of the most feared hired guns of the Old West, Pinkerton Detective Tom Horn. Regardless of which version is true, Dart's life came to a tragic end on October 4th, 1900, when he stepped out of his cabin in Browns Hole, Colorado, and was fatally shot by an unseen marksman. Spent bullet casings were later discovered beneath a tree near the scene, but no official culprit was ever identified. Dart had settled in Browns Hole nearly 20 years earlier, establishing himself as a rancher. However, rumors circulated that he was actually Ned Huddlestone, the only surviving member of the Tip Galt Gang, a group of Wyoming rustlers whose other members had been eliminated by vigilantes. Some believed that after arriving in Browns Hole, Dart resumed cattle rustling, working alongside small-scale ranchers Matt Rash, Jim McKnight, and Queen Anne Bassett to take livestock from powerful cattle baron Ora Haley. Another perspective suggests that Haley and other large cattle owners were aggressively pushing out small ranchers, their vast herds dominating the region's resources. Whether or not Dart was involved in rustling, tensions between the smallholders and powerful ranchers escalated. In response, Haley hired Tom Horn to investigate the allegations of theft. Operating undercover at Rash's ranch, Horn's presence was soon followed by ominous anonymous letters warning Rash and Dart to leave the area or face consequences. In July 1900, Matt Rash was found lifeless in his cabin. Before passing, he had attempted to write the name of his assailant, but the message was unclear. Despite the danger, Dart chose to stay in Browns Hole. A few months later, he was also killed. Around the same time, an attempt was made on the life of a local named George Banks, who later claimed to have overheard Horn discussing plans against Rash and Dart. No one was ever formally charged for the deaths of Rash and Dart. However, in 1903, Tom Horn was convicted and executed for shooting a 14-year-old boy, further cementing his reputation as one of the most controversial figures of the Old West. Nat Love, Nat Deadwood Dick. Love secured his place in history as one of the most well-known African-American cowboys by writing his own memoir, The Life and Adventures of Nat Love, otherwise known in cattle country as Deadwood Dick. However, despite his efforts to document his life, he remains one of the least verifiable figures in cowboy history. His autobiography is filled with larger-than-life tales, and historians generally consider it more of a Wild West adventure story than a factual account. According to Love's own recollections, he left Tennessee at 16, eager to experience the excitement of the West. He had a natural talent for working with horses, which helped him secure a position with the Duval Ranch in Kansas City. His first challenge was to ride a particularly difficult horse named Goodeye, which had never been broken. Love described the ride as the toughest he had ever endured, but he managed to stay on and earned himself a job that paid $30 a month. He quickly became skilled in all aspects of ranch work, eventually rising to the position of chief brand reader and cattle buyer. This role took him as far as Mexico, where he reportedly became fluent in Spanish. He also claimed to have dedicated countless hours to sharpening his marksmanship with his .45 revolver, eventually becoming an expert shooter. Love later joined the Gallagher Ranch in Arizona, where he allegedly had encounters with cattle rustlers and conflicts with various groups in the region. His autobiography also boasts that he crossed paths with legendary Western figures such as Jesse James, Pat Garrett, and Billy the Kid. However, no independent records confirm these meetings. One of the most famous stories from his memoir involves a trip to Deadwood, South Dakota, where his crew arrived in time for the town's 4th of July celebrations. Love entered a cowboy competition offering a $200 prize and claimed victory in every event, including roping, riding, bridling, saddling, and shooting. His impressive performance earned him the nickname Deadwood Dick. Eventually, he left the cowboy life behind and found work as a Pullman porter on the railroad, where he spent his later years. While there is no doubt that Love was a real cowboy, many of the extraordinary events he described remain unverified. His autobiography, whether fact or fiction, helped preserve his name as one of the most memorable figures of the Wild West. Bob Lemons. Bob Lemons earned a reputation for his remarkable ability to capture wild mustangs. Born into slavery, he gained his freedom after the Civil War and settled in West Texas, a region known for its large population of wild horses. Seeking work, he became a cowboy for a local rancher named Duncan Lamons. Over time, his surname evolved in spelling, but his skills with horses remained unmatched. While working on the ranch, Bob herded cattle and farmed, but most importantly, he learned the intricacies of horse handling from his employer. During this period, mustangs were highly valued, and Bob developed a unique and highly effective method for capturing them. Unlike most wranglers, who used large groups to chase and corral the horses, Bob worked alone. His approach was based on patience and trust. He would follow a herd for days, gradually gaining their acceptance. Once the mustangs no longer saw him as a threat, he would identify and mount the lead horse. By establishing control over the leader, he could then guide the entire herd back to the ranch. This method proved highly successful, allowing Bob to earn a good living. Over time, he saved enough money to purchase his own ranch, where he raised large herds of cattle and horses. Alongside his wife Barbara, he became known for his kindness, especially during the Great Depression, when they provided help to those in need. Bob Lemons lived a long and fulfilling life, passing away in 1947 at the age of 99. His legacy as one of the most skilled horsemen of the Old West remains a testament to his patience, resourcefulness, and deep understanding of the mustangs he once rode. Bill Pickett. Bill Pickett, of both African American and Native American heritage, became a renowned rodeo performer in Texas in the early 20th century. He is most famous for creating a bull wrestling technique known as bulldogging, which eventually became a popular event in rodeo competitions. The technique involved the cowboy riding alongside a bull and grabbing the animal's head. By twisting the bull's head upward and then biting down on its upper lip, the cowboy would cause the bull immense discomfort, making it easier to control and bringing the animal to the ground. Pickett reportedly came up with this method after observing how bulldogs subdued cattle in a similar manner. Though effective in capturing the bull, the practice was later discontinued due to growing concerns about animal cruelty. In addition to his work with bulls, Pickett spent years performing in the Miller Brothers 101 Ranch Show, one of the most famous rodeo shows of the time. He also delivered impressive performances at the renowned Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo. Furthermore, Bill made history as the first black cowboy to appear in a film, further solidifying his place in the legacy of the American West. Pickett's life came to an untimely end in 1932 after being kicked in the head by a horse. His passing was announced by his close friend, the famous humorist Will Rogers, on his radio show. In recognition of his contributions to rodeo and Western culture, Bill Pickett was posthumously inducted into the National Rodeo Hall of Fame in 1972, ensuring his legacy as one of the great pioneers of the sport. The Texas Kid, John the Texas Kid. Hayes remains a figure in the popular imagination for his bold opposition into segregation, although little is known about his life. Born in Waco, Texas, Hayes had a reputation for challenging the racial barriers that existed in the towns he traveled through. Whenever he came across a whites only sign outside a saloon, he would enter and ask for a drink. If the bartender denied him service, Hayes would exact his form of revenge by riding his horse into the bar, shooting out the lights, and then swiftly leaving the area before anyone could stop him. A similar figure in the fight against segregation was Jess Crumbley, a black cowboy from Cheyenne. Crumbley, who stood at 6 feet 4 inches and weighed around 240 pounds, earned the nickname Flip due to his ability to send anyone he struck flying backward. Known for his physical strength, Crumbley also refused to abide by the segregated rules of the West and drank freely in any saloon, regardless of the color restrictions. Hayes and Crumbley were part of a larger wave of African Americans who resisted the rise of segregation in the West. These acts of defiance were not isolated, as tensions around segregation grew, particularly in the late 19th century. One of the most notable examples of resistance occurred in 1878, when Buffalo soldiers from the 10th Cavalry responded to an attack on their sergeant in San Angelo, Texas, by opening fire on a local saloon where the incident had occurred. These acts of resistance, though not always peaceful, highlighted the determination of African Americans to challenge segregation in the American West. Charlie Willis. Charlie Willis, born a slave in Austin, Texas, in 1847, rose to prominence across the state as both a skilled bronco buster and cattle drover. In addition to his ranching abilities, he was also a talented songwriter. At the age of 18, he began working as a horsebreaker at the Morris Ranch in Bartlett. By the time he was 23, he married Laura Davis, and together they had a family, raising 4 sons and 3 daughters. From the age of 24, Willis became a regular cattle drover on the Chisholm Trail, a grueling 1,000-mile route that led from Texas to Kansas City, Missouri. Today, Willis is perhaps best known for his song, "Goodbye, Old Paint," a piece that has become an important part of American cowboy music. The song was included in the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress as a reflection of cowboy culture. It was first recorded in 1947 by the musicologist John Lomax, who captured a performance by fiddle player Jess Morris. Initially, the song was credited to Morris, but he later revealed that he had learned it from Willis when they were young. Old Paint was said to be the name of Willis's own horse, a reliable companion during his long cattle drives on the Chisholm Trail. Charlie Willis lived to an advanced age, passing away in 1930. He was laid to rest in a cemetery beside his property in Bartlett, Texas, leaving behind a legacy of both music and hard work that remains part of the fabric of Texas's cowboy history. As we've seen, African American cowboys played an indispensable role in shaping the American Old West. Their stories are a testament to the strength and perseverance of individuals who helped define the rugged spirit of the West, paving the way for future generations to follow in their footsteps. If you enjoyed learning about these remarkable cowboys and want to uncover more hidden histories of the Old West, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Join us for more tales of adventure and the unsung heroes who shaped this iconic era. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and stay tuned for more exciting content.